Hey folks, long time coming for this one. I bought this case almost 2 years ago, and it's finally about time to start doing a build in it. This is the DG-86 case from EVGA, and what we're doing today is we're working on the exterior. Basically what we're doing is we're not going to be painting the case. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. What we're going to be using is some epoxy resin. This is just polyester resin that I got from the local craft store. It's a two-part. This is the resin itself, and then it comes with a little bottle of catalyst. Just put some drops in, you mix it up. So the reason I'm going with epoxy instead of using paint is because with epoxy, you can get some really, really wicked effects and a wet mirror-like finish. It's really wicked, the effects that you can do. What I got 3 different metallics here. This is No-Con Blue from Eye Candy. This is a metallic blue. This is a metallic black, it's called Ninja Black. And then this here is Imperial Jade. It's basically a metallic green. Really all it is it's just a powder. It's nothing special. Oop, now it's floating around in the wind, in the air. It's basically just colored mica ground up into a really, really fine powder. Now I did a test piece, and this is the test piece that I did. Look at that glass-like finish. But you can see what I did was I did a flood coat of the Ninja Black, the metallic black, and then I did some veins of green, and you can see it very subtly, like here and here, some very thin veins of blue, and then I traced those with some veins of black. That's why this black is actually sitting. It's all about your layers. Epoxy wants to level itself out all the time. It just wants to lay as flat as it can be. So once that black was down, that leveled itself out flat. Then once I put the green in there, the green wanted to level itself as well, but the only way that it could do that was go through the black. That's how it blends in so well right here. It's really, really wicked how it just blends in. Like when you pour it, you could definitely see a line of blue here, but as it settles and it levels itself out, it just blends in, and it's this gorgeous effect. I'm sorry about the lighting, it's just way reflective. You can see my softbox right up there. But this is what we're going for with the exterior for this case. I'm gonna have to dismantle the entire case, plus I'm also gonna have to put a nice big cutout right here, because I'm building we'll call it a reservoir block. It's going to be a nice big piece of acrylic right here. It's going to have the 2 reservoirs. We're doing a dual loop. We're doing blue for the motherboard and then green for the graphics card. I have a EVGA RTX 2080 Ti with an 8K water block. So basically the thing is green for the NVIDIA, blue for Intel, because we're doing an 8700K. And they're UV reactive. I'm going to be using UV reactive coolants, hence the green with a little bit of blue in the color. So I'm going to tear this apart, and then I'm going to show you guys how I lay my epoxy. Alright, I've got the case disassembled. For anybody else tackling this, there are a lot of screws and things to come apart, so I didn't get any video of it. But these are all the front panels. This is the bottom one. These are the 2 side panels that, sit right here. And then this is the piece that goes across the top before the front grille. Now what I've already done is I've gone and mixed up just the resin portions. I haven't mixed up in the catalyst yet, but I wanted to show you. Look at this. This is what we're looking at. These are the colors that we're going with. Now when these when the metallics in these pigments, in these epoxies, like I said, we're going to put the black down, put some green on there, and that green is going to want to settle into the black. So I'm going to go ahead and mix in the catalyst, and we're going to start pouring. And we're going to hope to get the effect that we're looking for. Alright, so I got ahead and poured it. I took this piece of acrylic and I cut some trowel lines in it so that way we can start spreading this around. Doesn't have to be perfect because, like I said, this is all gonna settle. I am a little nervous though, however, because of all these angles. You really should be doing this when it's flat. But since this case has so many different angles, it's kind of hard to do that. I'm just gonna use the edge here, get some to move up into these pieces here. Now you don't have to be super duper fast with this because it's not like 5-minute epoxy where it's, you mix the two parts up and it just automatically starts to starts to set up in a few minutes. This stuff has a very long working time. It's got probably the better part of an hour before this starts to gel over. Another thing too is when you are doing plastic pieces or any type of a laminate or anything like that, you do want to scuff it up and then use a something like a bonding primer, something that's that, because the primer will grip to the plastic, and then the epoxy will grip to the primer. So you have a really good strong bond between your part and your actual epoxy. But I don't have any, and I'm impatient. So I scuffed it up really good with some 220 grit sandpaper, and then made sure everything was all cleaned off before we poured. So there should be a decent bond, because it's not like we're doing a countertop or anything like that. We're doing a computer that's going to just sit there. There's no mechanical purpose for it. It just sits there and looks pretty. That's why we go and do all this work to our computers, to make them look pretty. We're going to put a couple of lines like that. This is probably not going to turn out so well because everything is going to want to follow these angles. Okay, now I definitely put way too much on some of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stir and I'm going to drag some lines through here. And we're going to take some of this, drag that off of there. It's a little too much. These ones here I think are a-okay. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of blue on there. It's got the blue mixed. It's very metallic-y. I love this stuff. So let's go ahead and put, I don't want to put a whole lot of the blue. I just want little hints of it. But you know what? We're going to use the stick to do this. There we go, that's what I'm talking about. Just little subtle hints of the blue. Now that is gonna settle in. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the black again. I'm gonna trace this blue. You don't need a whole lot, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a trace. So when it all starts to settle, the black and the blue will blend together. Well, this doesn't look very good at the moment. I knew that. I was a little skeptical at first too the first time. But in the end, everything was great. Let me see if we can get some closer shots for you guys so you can see what we're dealing with here. See that? See how it's already type of glassy? And it looks very, I guess you could say zebra skinish. But like I said, like right here, you can see there's a real big contrast with the green and the blue. but that's all gonna settle down and it's gonna blend together. Like, for example, up here, like that's a real high contrast with the blue. I'm probably gonna take the green and trace along the blue with the green, so then that way it'll blend in a little bit more, and it'll make it a little bit more subtle that way as well. So I'm just gonna stir up the green a little bit. Put a little drizzle of the green there. Yeah, just like that. Follow here. And then, like I said, as this stuff settles, it's all gonna blend. Like we can get a little bit more green here. It seems to all have ran away. Now, all you're really looking to do here is kind of to pop bubbles. I hope you guys can hear me. But, oh yeah, you can already see the bubbles popping. You can also use a handheld torch, like a propane torch. That's pretty popular. However, I am using, since this is all on plastic, I do not want to overheat it. I know it's only just real quick passes like this, but just to be on the safe side. Now, if you were doing this on a flat surface, like say a countertop or something like that, this would lay completely flat. Like up here, you can see right along here, we have all these little run marks. In this situation, I'm gonna say that's fine, because what I'm going to do after this sets up is I'm gonna start putting flood coats of just clear. With just those flood coats of clear, it's going to build up a nice thick layer, and that way I'll have a good amount, and I'll be able to sand down and I won't hit any of this color. So it'll all be smooth, and then I'll give it a polish and a wax. So now that the color is done, this needs to sit. In the painting world, it's called flashing. Usually, like if you're spray painting, normally you would have, say, like a, you do your spray, then leave it like 10 to 15 minutes before you can put another coat on. That's actually called flashing. The paint's not completely drying, but it's drying enough to the point where it's tacky, and your next layer will stick to it. This stuff here, this needs to sit for about 4 hours. And at that point, it'll be tacky, and I can go ahead and just, start doing my flood coats without having to do any sanding. If I leave this sit for say 10 hours, like if I go to bed, then I wake up the next morning, however many hours later, it's gonna need to be sanded before you can start putting your flood coat down, because it's not gonna stick. So the time now is 5:30. So 4 hours from now, 9:30, we'll come back and we'll do our first flood coat, and we'll also be able to see how everything is shaping up with the blending. Ta-da! This is how we have it, folks. It's all put back together now. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I really like these subtle blue veins in the blue, and how some of the blacks come through. I think the finish is gorgeous. It's very reflective and clean. I'll give you an upshot like that. Okay, you can see it's very smooth, very clean, very glass-like. I love it. So what I did was I removed this entire section. If you remember, this is where the had a little display and some buttons. That's where all the control hardware for the case was. The fan controller and everything. The only thing that's left now is this connector here. This is for the buttons up here for the power, reset, hard drive, LED, and all that. So what I'm gonna do here is, originally back here, you can see where I have the lines. I had it drawn out. I was gonna take a piece of acrylic, remove this section of the motherboard tray, and put a nice big thing here with the 2 reservoirs built into it, and then have the tubing, coming off. And I was gonna have a distribution block right here to have it running up here to the graphics cards. I have to redo that because I was using 2 GTX 1070s, and now I'm only using the one single RTX 2080 Ti from EVGA. So what I'm going to do instead is here. I'm going to put a plate here, and both pumps are going to mount to it, so that way the impellers are facing out, so you'll be able to see them spinning and the coolant flowing through and then back in. And then here I'm going to put a piece of polished aluminum with the pass-throughs for the two here for the graphics cards. They're going to be the ultraviolet green, and then I'm going to have a single tube coming up here into the CPU block and then exiting into the radiator, which I'm using cross-flow radiators, so it will exit here. And then in this section here, I'm going to get some acrylic tubing, and I'm going to put two reservoirs here. I'm going to put one here and then one, over and back here, so they're staggered, and so that way both radiators, both this one and this one, they will both exit out straight into the top of their respective reservoirs, and the tube runs can be very cleanly run, and it will look gorgeous, I think so. But that's what the plan is for this. Sorry about the mess in here, it's very messy. The only thing that I didn't like is up here with the top. You can see it's a little bit more contrasty, and if you look, see if I can get the right angle, you can kind of see where the clear dripped, because these are angles, so when you pour it here, it's just going to drip down, versus these sat flat, so the coating could actually run the way that it was supposed to. So I had to put a little bit extra up here on the top, but it still looks good. I'm happy with it. You can see here's the buttons, but I'm very happy with it. I like how it turned out. And so in the next video, we're going to go ahead and do this plate, and the reservoirs, and get everything plumbed up and get the thing running. So until then, I will see you later.